Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I really apologise about the sun once again. It's shining and my eyes are really sensitive to the light. But I can't find anywhere else that's appropriate lighting to try and film. So we're just going to deal with it and roll with it. So for today's video, I'm actually going to be doing my Albufeira travel recommendations. Now, I wasn't actually going to film a video like this because obviously my vlog has just gone up last week and that shows everything that we did and all the insight into everything. However, when I was away, I filmed and posted quite a lot of TikToks in Albufeira and a lot of the stuff we did. And in particular, I posted one TikTok that was my Albufeira travel recommendations for anybody who was going on a girls' holiday there. And yeah, the reception has just been absolutely crazy. I feel very blessed at the moment for how my TikTok's doing. It's doing pretty well. So maybe you've come from that TikTok because I will definitely be leaving a comment in that TikTok saying that this video is here for anybody who wants more in-depth information. But yeah, it got received really well, and I thought there might be people out there who want to know a little bit more in depth about Albufeira and traveling and partying recommendations, where to stay, where to eat, where to drink, the whole works, and go into everything in a little bit more depth. So that is what I'm going to be doing today. So I have some main categories to talk through, and then anything else that comes up as we go, I will just comment on that as well. So I did go to Albufeira on a girls' holiday, and it very much was intended for that case. We went for the partying, the drinking, all that type of vibes. We went for your typical girls' party holiday, and it definitely did not disappoint. Just for reference, I am 21 years old, and I also went with another girl called Jess, who was also 21 years old, and we stayed for 5 nights. One of my most asked questions on my TikTok was from older ladies asking if it was for them. They said that they booked a holiday and they were worried that it would be a younger crowd. So I just wanted to touch on that first. So the one thing that I learned, Albufeira is for absolutely everybody. When we went, there was older groups of people, there were people younger than us, there was lots of people around the same age as us, but there were definitely older crowds, and the older crowds were loving it. And I must say, the older crowds were getting more in the vibe than most of the younger people there. There was definitely quite a lot of hen parties, and lots of these hen parties were of the slightly older age group. I would say that if you are someone older looking to go on a holiday to Albufeira, my personal recommendation would be to stay in the old town opposed to the new town. The old town definitely catered more for the older generation, and there was definitely a lot more older people there, as well as families and kids and babies. Whereas the new town was very young focus. It was your typical clubbing vibe, and there were a lot more young people. Although there were older people in Newtown, and again, they were loving it. I think it's just vibe dependent and depending on what you're interested in and what you are going for. Although one day I did see a guy pushing a baby down the Newtown strip at about 12 o'clock at night, which I did think was a bit bizarre, but each to their own, I guess. Another question I got asked, which leads me into my first topic, was I'm going here on my first girls' holiday and I'm a little bit worried about the safety side of things. So that leads me into my first topic of safety, which of course is, in my opinion, when you are going on a girls' holiday, especially as young girls, should be your main focus for when you go. Now, I must say, like everywhere in the world you could go out in your hometown, you always have to stay vigilant. There are going to be people out there with ill intents no matter where you are in the world. And unfortunately, that's a fact of the world and you can't really avoid it. However, I would say personally, in Albufeira, we did feel very safe. There were no moments where we felt in immediate danger, which is great because obviously you don't want that. But you also have to accept the fact that being abroad and being in different countries, people's morals and just the way they act with different people is different. And a lot of the time, it doesn't come with ill intent, it's just their culture, it's the way they are. And if you're going to a different country, you do kind of have to accept the fact that most people in different countries aren't like Brits. I personally think as Britons, we're quite crude as a nation. We don't really like physical touch, we don't really like being spoken to. And don't get me wrong, there are people out there who do like that type of stuff, but I feel like as a generation as a whole, we are quite reserved. Whereas what I've found, I've been to quite a few different countries now, and most of the people in different countries are not like Brits. They're quite friendly, and they will greet you with a hug, or they will touch your shoulder, or anything like that. And it's not disrespectful, it's not creepy, it's just the way they are. So I feel like you kind of have to go in there with the knowledge that people are going to be friendly, and take it as friendliness, not as creepiness, because you don't want to affect their livelihood. Like, that's the way they are. Like, don't be rude to people. With that being said, there were no moments when we were there that we felt in immediate danger. We found our hotel to be quite safe. There was nobody in our hotel who made us feel uncomfortable. We found the Newtown Strip quite safe. Again, there was no moments where we thought we need to get out of the situation. And again, with Old Town, the exact same thing. Lots of the people there, or all of the people there that we found, were just there to have a good time. And we found that people actually weren't that bothered about speaking to you. When we were there, everyone just kind of stayed in their own little cliques. There was no one really coming up to you trying to speak to you, which was quite nice. As two girls in relationships, it was nice to not be spoken to, because I don't like to be rude to people regardless of the conversation they're trying to have with me. It was nice to avoid all of that. The only thing I would say is, when you go to Newtown, especially, we only went to Old Town for one night, so I'm not saying it can't happen, but we didn't experience it in Old Town. The bar reps can be quite persistent. So by that I mean, it's their job to try and get you inside of their bar. So by doing that, they will come up to you, they'll speak to you, they will offer you things. And sometimes they can be quite persistent. A lot of them took no for an answer. And we found the best tactic was not to be rude, because it's her job. Don't be rude to anybody, but just a simple no thank you and just carry on walking worked for a lot of people. However, we did have one situation where we did do the usual no thank you, carried on walking, they kept talking. And then the guy in particular who was trying to get us into his bar followed us down the street and did end up like putting his hands on my friend's shoulder, to which she turned around and was like, don't touch me, because he should have got the vibe that we weren't interested in going into his bar, and we did just want to be left alone. But you do kind of have to go into that with a strong head. No means no, and no matter what situation it is in. And you are allowed to say no to going into people's bars, and don't make anyone make you feel pressured to going into a bar if you do not want to go into a bar. However, that was the only thing that we experienced. There is your usual, like, there'll be people like catcalling or whistling out of cars, but you get that going down the street. And again, it literally happened to us like once or twice in the whole holiday. The Ubers and taxi service over there we found was very safe. So when we were there, we did actually mainly use Bolt, and we never had an issue with anything like that either. Even if we were coming home drunk after a night out late at night, we always felt safe in their taxi services. And yeah, on the whole, I just thought it was a very safe place to be. There wasn't one point in time where I felt scared, except for one time there was someone knocking on our door in the middle of the night, but I genuinely think that was a drunk person trying to find their room, because that happens a lot. I personally would say that if you're looking for somewhere to go, it is definitely a brilliant place to stay. One thing we did to make us feel better when we were there is we took anti-spiking drink covers with us. So I've actually got one to show you. So I bought this pack of 5 off eBay, I would like to say. So it's a little scrunchie, and then here is your drink cover. So it sits over the top of your drink like this, and it has a little straw hole in it. And when you're not using it, what I did is I just wrapped the black bit around my scrunchie, and it just looks like you're wearing a normal scrunchie. Obviously, I haven't wrapped that very well. And then when you have a drink, pull it out, pop it on your drink. And we actually got quite a lot of praise from the people working behind the bars for these. We were like, better to be safe than sorry. Like, and they were like, yeah, like, great, like, you're protecting yourself. I would definitely recommend something like this if you are going away, because while you don't want to live in fear, unfortunately, the world we live in, spiking and stuff like that does happen. And even if you can try and protect yourself a little bit by using something like this, I would definitely recommend it. Obviously, you cannot protect yourself from all avenues, that's just the fact of life. But I would definitely recommend these because it just gives you that extra little layer of protection, and it also helped us to have a little bit more ease in our minds, that we were protecting ourselves to a certain level. But on the safety side of things, that is it. I would definitely recommend it to anybody who is looking to go on a girls' holiday. We personally found it a very safe space to be. I know that people will have different stories and different opinions, but everything is subjective. So what I would say is, no matter where you are going on a girls' holiday or a night out, always stay vigilant and look after yourselves. Stay with your friends, and just look after each other, and you will be fine. So that leads me on to my next topic of nightlife, which, let's be honest, when you're looking to go on a girls' holiday, on a party holiday, that is the thing that a lot of people go for. So what I will say is the nightlife in Albufeira is great. Every single night that we went out, we had a brilliant time, and you are never ever short of choice of somewhere to go. So if you are unaware of how the Albufeira nightlife works, there are two locations. There's Albufeira New Town, which has the Strip, and then there's Old Town, which is a little bit more spaced out. These two destinations are about 15 minutes drive from each other by car, or if you are walking, about 30-40 minutes, depending on where you are staying. We did do both areas when we went. However, we did New Town a lot more than Old Town, so I do have a little bit more to say on that, but I have also experienced the Old Town nightlife to be able to comment and give some insight. So just off the bat, if I was putting it on black and white, I would say New Town is your more typical clubbing part of Albufeira. It's where lots more of the young people go, and it's what you would think of when you think of party holiday. And then you've got Old Town, which I would say is more chilled, relaxed vibes. You still get great nightlife there, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot more option in Old Town to pick and choose what type of vibe you want to go for. So the type of stuff that is in New Town is basically just bars and clubs. So the whole way along the Strip, most of your bars and clubs are going to have the same vibe. Different places do offer different types of music and vibe. So what we did is we just kind of went in places night by night based on what the vibe was like. Sometimes you'll walk past somewhere and it's packed and the vibe is great, and then you'll walk past the next day and it is empty. So we did just kind of pick and choose where we wanted to go. But some of our favourites were a cocktail bar called La Bamba. We went in there on the first night we arrived, and that was the night we went out quite late. So we got there around 2 a.m. and it was heaving. It was brilliant. For me, that was my favourite place. However, every single night that we went after that, it was empty. But we did also go a lot earlier in the night all the time, so that might be why. The other nights that we went, my other two favourite places were Albufeira 66. The vibe in there was brilliant. I'm like a decor vibe person, and the decor and the vibe in there was brilliant. Again, it was really busy, and it is big. There's a lot of space in there, so you can fit a lot of people in, and yeah, I really liked that. And then the other place that I personally really enjoyed was Matt's Bar. I know you've probably seen it all over TikTok, but it is great. It is great. It's a great vibe in there, and you can also ride the bull if you want to ride the bull, but don't make the mistake that we made. Take cash with you, because they don't take card payments for the bull, which is why we didn't end up doing it. Now going on to the Old Town. So I actually can't remember any specific places we went, because if you've been to Old Town or you've researched, it kind of just happens everywhere. It happens on the street, it happens in bars, outside of bars. However, I do remember we were near a place called Bank Restaurant where we experienced our nightlife in Old Town. So in Old Town, the vibe is very much live singers, cocktail bars, have a sit down, listen to people if you want. There's also more lively bars where people are up and dancing and there's DJs. There's a real good mix. So maybe if you are going with people who aren't as big party people, maybe Old Town is more your vibe, or maybe if you're older and looking for something more chill. In Old Town, I'm sure you've seen the videos, but lots of people do like surround singers on the street. So there'll be a live singer on the street and everyone just kind of surrounds in the street. And that's kind of where the party happens. We also went to a bar where there was a live singer in the bar, and it was great. It was such good vibes, like really, really good vibes. I have to say that that was one of my favourite nights I've had in Albufeira, and when I look back, that's the thing that makes my heart go, oh, I miss it. But yeah, it's brilliant. So there's just a little bit about the nightlife, so you can decide which area you think would be best, or do both, like us, get the best of the both worlds. Now moving on to accommodation. So we did actually stay in the New Town, and we stayed in a hotel called Luna Hotel de Aura. I have absolutely no qualms about the hotel. We did self-catering, and It was brilliant, it was bog standard, but it's what we wanted and what we needed. The pool area was fine. It wasn't manned by a lifeguard, but it depends if you were really concerned about something like that. We personally weren't, and a lot of the people there weren't. The pool area was quite lively during the day. People would play their own music. There was lots of hen do's, stag do's. There was a really, really good vibe going on at the pool area during the day. Also, no sunbed wars. We didn't have to fight for a sunbed once. In fact, most times when we got up and went down, there was nobody else there. It was just us. That's probably because people were out partying until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and didn't wake up till midday. And yeah, absolutely no qualms to the hotel whatsoever. However, we personally said when we were there that we would have preferred to stay in the Old Town area rather than the New Town area. Again, this is completely situation dependent and depending what you're looking for. We wanted chilled days and lively nights. We like a party, we like going out, but we're never going to be the people that are out till 5 o'clock in the morning. And we didn't go out every night either. We had a couple nights in. We really wanted to experience the wholesome days and then going out in the evening. And this is personally for us why we said that we would have preferred to stay in the Old Town. The Old Town is your more typical seaside town holiday with your shops, your little restaurants, your bars, and it has a very nice, wholesome vibe. The beach is absolutely gorgeous there. There's a lot more to do in the daytime in the Old Town than there is in the New Town. The New Town isn't completely restricted, however, there is the one strip, and there are restaurants and bars and the beach at the end. But in terms of vibe of the daytime, for me personally, New Town had no comparison to the Old Town. And if I stayed there again, I would definitely stay in the Old Town area, or I would go somewhere more central so it's easier to get to both. And that leads me on to daytime activities. My phone did just malfunction in the heat. It overheats all the time. So I've moved locations to finish the video. So just bear with the bad lighting for a minute while I sum up. We wanted to go somewhere where we could experience the nightlife and have that and do really nice, chill, wholesome day activities. And we found Albufeira was the perfect mix for that. So the activities that we did the Benadryl Caves and Dolphin Tour. So this was about 3 hours. You got picked up from Albufeira Marina, and it is basically just a tour of all the caves because the Algarve coastline is absolutely gorgeous, and we are so glad we did it. And obviously going to the Benadryl Caves is like a bucket list tick off, something that you want to do. And the boat trip itself was really nice and wholesome and a nice thing for us to do in the day. We didn't actually see any dolphins, which is a disappointing part. They can't guarantee you to see dolphins because obviously they are wild creatures, and if they are not around, they are not around. There's not much they can do about that. So that was slightly disappointing, but also you can't really do much about it. So go with the expectation that you might not see dolphins if you go on the Benadryl Caves and Dolphins tour. We did this with a company called Algarve Experience, and they were absolutely brilliant, and we also booked our boat party with them. So that is another activity we did their boat party. You could kind of class it as a nighttime evening activity. I guess it falls under the umbrella of partying. I think your vibe will depend on how many people are on your boat and the type of people that are on your boat. So when we did ours was actually quite a chilled boat party, which contradicts itself. You had the opportunity to get up and dance if you wanted to. There was definitely space for that. There was a live DJ, which was brilliant. But equally, if you wanted to just sit and chill in the sun on the boat and listen to some music, you absolutely could do that as well. Me and Jess did actually do a combination of the two. We went up on the top deck of the boat, and that's where the vibes were. It was brilliant. And yeah, we had an awesome time. The only thing I would say about the two boat trips is depending on the weather, your sea can be quite choppy. So on our caves tour, our sea was very choppy. Now, if you are somebody who gets boat sick and you know you get boat sick, maybe a boat excursion wouldn't be the best thing for you. However, when we went, I actually bought these, which are quails. I bought these from the pharmacy before I went. Because I've never been on a boat like that before. I've been on ferries, but I've never been on an actual boat before. So I was a little bit worried about getting seasick, and I took them before I went on the boat, and each time I was perfectly fine. So maybe if you are a little bit worried about getting seasick, maybe just take something like that with you to have in case, because they don't have them on the boats. That's what I thought, because I forgot to take mine before the boat party, then panicked. I was fine. And I asked if they had seasickness tablets and they said no, which did surprise me a little bit because I thought being on a boat somebody would have some sort of seasickness tablets, but apparently they don't, so just go prepared. And the other daytime activity that we did, we went to Wells Beach Club. So the actual name of this is Well Vale de Lobo Beach Club, and it's not actually in Albufeira, it's in the Algarve area, and it was about a 30-minute drive for us from Newtown. It can be a little bit pricey, and the drinks there are definitely pricey, and the food. However, if you are looking for somewhere a little bit bougier to go, you want some nice Instagram pictures, you just want a chilled day away from your hotel pool, and you want to go somewhere a little bit nicer, I would definitely recommend it. It is the most gorgeous place I have ever been to. The beach there is lovely, the surrounding area is just beautiful. Some of the houses and some of the villas that we drove past, yeah, I would love to win the lottery so I could buy one of them. The beds at the beach club were so beautiful, the service there was brilliant, and it cost us €30 for the day, and that included your towel. And yeah, it's something that I would definitely recommend doing. There are definitely a lot more daytime activities to do in the area, so have a little bit of a Google, use TikTok. TikTok's your best friend when it comes to researching, and find some things to do in the day if that's what you're interested in. Now, food and drink. I'm not going to talk too much about food and drink because you could actually go on forever. But what I will say is do not be worried about eating and drinking out. Your possibilities are endless, and that is the same as whether you were staying in the new town or the old town. There are so many bars, so many restaurants, and I've heard great things about a lot of the restaurants. I saw some of the restaurants listed on my TikTok, which I won't read out because I won't pronounce them, but if you want to see exactly where we went to, then head over to my TikTok. The prices there are, I would say, pretty similar to UK price, maybe ever so slightly cheaper, but you are still paying about €10 for a cocktail, and you're still probably paying about €20 for a meal, which it isn't awful. The prices aren't bad at all, and again, it totally depends where you go. If you go somewhere more bougie, it's going to be more expensive. If you go somewhere less bougie, then it's going to be cheaper. So just kind of scout out what vibe you're after and what budget you're after, but you will have absolutely no issue whatever with eating and drinking in Albufeira. And that is actually all of my topics, I think, covered. I know this is probably a very long video, but there is so much to say, and I could have gone on for an extra half an hour if I wanted to about the place. For me personally, it is, I would say, my favourite holiday I've been on. The area is gorgeous, and I would not hesitate to go back at all. So I hope that some of this information has been useful for you. But if anybody does have any more questions, please either leave them in the comments of this video or on my TikTok. If you want to know some more stuff and actually see some of the stuff that we did, definitely head over to my TikTok. I'll leave the link in my bio, but it is the same name as this YouTube channel, and you can find lots of stuff there. And yeah, that is everything for this video. Go and check out my Albufeira vlog if you haven't already. You can see some of these recommendations happening in real time, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!